301. You can see it's actually my birthday behind me as of the time of this recording. No, I'm not a person that takes birthdays off. I work every day. Working out today too. Work out every day, work every day. So let's get to webinar 301. This webinar, as you can see, if you're watching, says Florida roofing market trends and specialty products. So this is going to be talking about more specialty products and differences between products. Make sure you watch webinar 101 and 201 before you check out 301, just so that you're like, what is this guy talking about? That will provide you a foundation of learning so that what I'm going to talk about in webinar 301, you will understand because you've watched 101 and 201. So let's get moving. That's me. 5 kids, master's degree, went to 2 different colleges, came to Florida to go to UCF. Been running Perkins Roofing basically since 2014 when I was the VP, and told Dean Perkins, the owner, to go home and let me make you some money. Go home. So I've been running the company since then. We started back in 1980. That's when Dean started Perkins Roofing. We'll talk about a little bit about that in a second. A little bit more. Perkins Roofing Jupiter was established in 2023. Perkins Construction established in 2023. Perkins Franchising in 2024. And I've been a licensed roofer since 2018. And this is my kiddos. Now, history of Perkins Roofing. So back in 1980, Dean Perkins started Perkins and Wharton Roofing with his partner, Steve, and then they had a falling out, and then so Dean kind of changed the name and just went to Perkins Roofing once they separated in 1990. So if you look on the Sunbiz for Perkins Roofing, you'll see we've been around since 1990. Primarily, he worked in Miami Beach doing hot tar, shingle roofs, tile roofs. Started working on Fisher Island in the 90s, which is the most expensive zip code in the country, which is kind of how we started our high-end service. For very wealthy individuals, condos, high-rise stuff, things that other people didn't do. So that's kind of how we got started here. Now, over the last 5 years, these are some of the jobs that we have had. All those red dots represent a job. You can see on the right, that's a heat map. Red means that those are territories, little zip codes. All those little squares are a zip code. So those zip codes that are red means we do a lot of work in, yellow means we do a little bit of work in, and green means we don't do so much work in. But that's kind of our heat map for Perkins Roofing. This heat map, probably about a year ago at this point. So I'm sure that it's a lot hotter around Jupiter now because our Jupiter branch has been expanding quite a bit. We do residential and commercial, and of course we're fully insured. And I put here, hint, most roofers aren't. Yes, sad to say, but most roofers are missing insurance somewhere. There's insurance gaps, or they got subs who are not properly insured. So it's just important to make sure how are people doing their work if they're subcontracting, and do their subcontractors also have insurance, not just them? What do we do? In roofing, we do new and re-roofs, roof repairs, roof maintenance, roof cleaning, pressure cleaning. I don't recommend, but algae cleaning, liquid restorations and coatings, roof consulting, waterproofing, sheet metal fabrication and install, gutters, chimney restorations and skylights. On the GC side, we do concrete restoration, structural repairs and carpentry, siding, hardy board, stucco, impact windows and doors, structural build-outs, kitchens, showers. We try to stay outside, but we also do inside stuff. I just focus mostly on exterior renovations, though we do bathrooms and kitchens and stuff like that. Floors, all that kind of good stuff. Florida real estate trends. Starting to get in away from Perkins Roofing into the market trends. So just so you know, Florida, of course, boomed after COVID. Everybody started moving here because people didn't like the rules in their states that they had to abide by. So a lot of people moved to Florida after COVID. But over the last little bit of time, all these newcomers to Florida realize how expensive it is to live here. So let's talk about some of the market trends because now people are like, oh, actually, I don't know if I can afford this. Prices in the real estate market are stabilizing. The median home price in Florida right now is $404,000. That's in 2025. And there's been steady, modest increases projected of 6.5% in Miami-Dade and 3.6 is increase in value projected by Goldman Sachs. But there are also forecasts of dropping in prices of 3 to 5%, especially luxury condo markets. Condos are really dipping. So condos are the biggest dipper. So luxury condos, high-rise condos, beachfront condos, all those are really down. Houses are still pretty resilient. Now, when it comes to supply and demand, the median days on the market is 70 to 75, up from 43 to 62 from 2024. So it takes roughly 2.5 months to sell a house at this point in time. Month and a half is what it usually is. And condos, I know, are even longer. I think that's up to like 90 to 120 days based on my buddy Larry, who's a real estate professional. Housing inventory is significantly increased across Florida, rising by 40.1% in mid-2024. So inventory is up because people are still building houses. Even though the market is slowing down, you still have a lot of houses, especially right now in East Florida and Vero Beach and Port St. Lucie. There's a lot of new construction. So that is still increasing, especially like townhouses. That's increasing. High insurance premiums, especially because people can't afford some of the other houses that are out there. So they have to build cheaper housing, the new construction people. So homeowners insurance costs have skyrocketed a 54% increase from 2019 to 2024 in homeowners insurance. What can we thank for that? Watch my insurance snowball video to further understand. But we can thank the storms, and we can thank all the fake claims out there, because there are a ton of fake claims. If you put a fake claim, you know, I'm talking about you, people. You're driving the cost of insurance up for everybody else by putting false insurance claims on, and karma will probably eventually get you. But sadly, it happens all the time. So Florida homeowners pay the highest premiums in the entire nation, averaging $11,000 annually in 2024, and 7% year-over-year increase. So it keeps going up. And also HOA fees are going up. So even though Florida houses may look affordable compared to like Austin or California or whatever, once you actually figure out the insurance game, and you understand that, hey, we're near the saltwater, houses don't last as long, materials don't last as long. It's really hot. The sun bakes out a lot of materials, so they don't last as long. Once you realize all these things, that you have to spend more money to upkeep your home, you have to spend more money on insurance, and you've got HOA fees, then things don't look so cheap. So mortgage rates are around 8% in 2023. Now they're dropped down to 6.9%. So rates have gone down. Population growth in Florida, you can see between 2024 and 2028, it's projected the state to have a population growth of about 319,000. Regional variations. There are variations within, obviously, cities are going to grow more than country areas due to job markets. So pretty standard. Cape Coral and Fort Myers, though, is actually declining in population. It's mostly older people that live there. My parents live there. So it's a lot of old people. But a lot of people like that live in Cape Coral and Fort Myers. A lot of people moved away because they've been constantly ravaged by hurricanes the last few years, and people are just sick of paying for repairs and insurance claims and all that. So, if you want a good price on a home, you can get a good price over there just because the market is down in that area. Now, Florida roofing trends. Let's talk about some roofing trends. The overall market, Florida roofing contractors industry, has reached a $6.7 billion market just in Florida in 2025. Industry has seen an average growth rate of 2.7% from 2020 to 2025, and that's just reflecting overall money spent. I can tell you that's not in labor. Materials have gone up more than 2.7%. So contractors are actually eating it right now, and the material people are making more money. So just an FYI, a lot of material people, they jacked the prices like every month during COVID for like 2 years. And now they're not. Now the prices have been pretty stable for the last year and a half, 2 years, since like 2024. Material prices have been pretty stable. There have been some products that have gone up due to the tariffs, but besides that, it's been pretty stable. And that's because they really, really jacked prices like to an extravagant amount during COVID, and then contractors were eating it. because people just couldn't afford the roof otherwise. Residential demand. So that sucks. Thank you, material suppliers, for being greedy POSs. Residential demand. So residential demand dollar value is expected to grow at an average annual pace of 8.2% through 2025. While nominal dollars spent on roofing and inflation adjusted value tells a more complex story for homeowners. We just talked about some of this. Rising cost versus value. Homeowners are spending more dollars for roofing projects. However, a significant portion of this increased spending covers the higher cost of materials, not labor. I'm telling you, labor prices have not gone up. My labor prices are the same since like 2018. So that is a lie. The only thing going up is materials, not labor, because the material people keep jacking prices. We can't afford to bring the labor up because then we make our product unaffordable for the average homeowner, and then we're not selling any jobs. So for us to sell jobs, we have to reduce our labor and overhead costs, rather because the material people are putting so much pressure that they're rising the prices, and we have to lower back down just to keep prices neutral. So that's actually what's happening in the market, people. I can tell you, I have firsthand experience. I've been doing this for a long time. Focus on durability. This is true. Most homeowners, because of these storms, are realizing now that they should probably have a metal roof. Metal roofs are going to be way, way more common. Shingle roofs are only rated for 120 mile an hour winds. Tile roofs are rated to 160 if you're lucky and you have foam tiles. The other day I was driving down a neighborhood and someone's screwing tiles in. I'm like, what the hell are you doing over here? In Palm Beach County, screwing tiles in on a re-roof, not on new construction. Come on. Insurance requirements. New regulations allow insurers to refuse renewal after 15 years on the roof. So just keep that in mind. If you're running a mortgage, you probably want to try to pay your house off within the 15 years. My go-to that I recommend to people is, look, if you're going to sell the house, it doesn't really matter. So forget about it. But if you're going to stay in the house, if this is your forever home, you're going to live in there forever, try to prepay your house off before your 30 years. Add a metal roof and add impact windows, and then just tell windstorm insurance to go kick rocks. That's my recommendation. Now, if a hurricane hits you and that happens, don't sue me. Don't blame me. That's your decision. But that's what I do. I'm just telling you what I do. And I'm telling you what a lot of other very wealthy people I know that invest in properties here in Florida do. That's what they do. Long-term savings. More durable roofs through more expensive upfront costs may lead to long-term savings by reducing insurance premiums and the frequency of costly repairs or replacements, especially in a state prone to hurricanes. So there's a balancing act here. Homeowners must balance upfront costs with long-term value. We're the people that you go to, Perkins Roofing, if you want durability. We're the ones that you go to if you want long-term value. Due to insurance implications and the need for storm resilience, the market has become less about finding the cheapest option and more about the strategic investment in a durable roof that's going to last. But again, that all depends on your time horizon. If you are going to be here for 7+ years, I recommend doing a metal roof. If you're going to be here for less than that, then do whatever the heck you want. Florida roofing trends. Talking about metal roofing, significant demand increase in metal roofing. Metal roofing demand has increased from 35% in 2024, from 2024 to 2025. And I see it. I've put on more metal roofs this year than any other roof. More metal roofs than tile roofs, more metal roofs than shingle roofs. This is the first time I've done more metal roofs than tile roofs in ever. So, yeah, people are listening. People are going to metal. HOAs, you need to take note. Start going to metal. Market share expansion. Metal roofs residential market share has grown from 3% to 17%, and it's expected to be at 40% by 2030. So currently 17% of roofs are now metal roofs, and it's going to be 40% by 2030. So in the next 5 years, the number of metal roofs in Florida is going to more than double. Keep that in mind. That means if you're not putting a metal roof on your house, and 40% of metal roofs are on, and you're going to sell, your plan is to sell your house in 2030, it's going to be really hard to sell your house if your house has an inferior roof on it. So keep that in mind if you're planning to sell your house. Because I have a client right now who's like, I'm going to sell my house in 5 years, and she's trying to figure out if she wants to do tile or metal on her house. And it's $6,000 extra to go to metal. I'm telling her to do the metal because guess what? If you're selling your house in 5 years and 40% of roofs are metal and you don't have a metal roof, your house is not going to sell as quickly or for as much money as you would like. Metal will increase the value of your home. It will decrease your insurance, and it will be way less maintenance than tile because now you don't have to pressure clean the tiles and clean and fix broken tiles every couple of years. It pays for itself within a few years. Do the metal roof. Florida residential re-roof. It's estimated that up to 20% of Florida's residential re-roof now consists of metal roofing. See, and it's going to go to 40. Commercial growth. There's way more metal roofs commercially right now because if you're a commercial investor, you're likely holding long term. You're usually not short on commercial properties. And because of the 35 to 50 year projected roof life of a metal roof, they're going metal because they don't want to keep paying for roofs. Colors. Dark colored roofs are in style right now, even though it's not good for solar reflectivity. The lighter your roof, the better for your utilities. But you can see this house on the bottom right-hand corner here. This is the look everyone wants. Bronze windows, dark roof, whether that's espresso or dark bronze or black, and then white paint. That is what people want. So that is what is in style. The three most popular colors right now for metal roofing are dark charcoal, matte black, and dark bronze. This one up here is the dark charcoal. This one right here is the matte black. Tile roofing. Tile roofing most popular colors in 2025 are graphite, which is like a dark reflective kind of charcoal, espresso, dark charcoal, and flat tiles are way more popular. Flat tiles versus Mediterranean tiles. Unless you have a Mediterranean tile style home, you're probably going with flats because it's more modern. Shingle roofing, shades of gray are trending over shades of brown. People are moving away from browns and going to grays and blacks. Silver birch, Georgetown gray, matte black are the most popular shingle colors this year, 2025. And just for time stamp reference, I'm filming this on October 1st of 2025. Now, let's talk about some specialty products. Insulation and ventilation. Insulation. In your attic, there are many types of insulation you can have. One is batt insulation. I don't have that pictured, but that's just when you have a bag of insulation stapled to the roof deck. That's the bagged insulation. Number two is a radiant barrier. That's where you have like what looks like a solar blanket stapled to the bottom of the sheathing. So you're stapling that to the bottom of the sheathing. The same thing with the bags of insulation. You can actually double that up and do both if you want. Number three is blown-in insulation. This is the bottom one right here in the corner, the bottom left-hand corner. You see that's your standard insulation. That's what you see in most houses. Someone goes up there with the machine and just puts the insulation in the machine. It cuts it up and blows it in all over the place. Number four is laid-in insulation. That's instead of blowing it in, you literally buy those giant bags at Home Depot and just lay them down nice on the basically the floor of the attic on top of your ceiling drywall. Number five is Icynene. This is very popular, but there are some problems that we're going to talk about. Icynene has two types. Icynene is this one in the bottom right. This is where you blow in and it makes your roof look like a cave. It gets stuck and looks like ice crystals kind of hanging from the bottom of the sheathing. There's open cell, which is breathable, which is meant for above grade applications. People don't know this. If you're planning to do Icynene, you need to know the difference between open cell and closed cell. And if you're blowing Icynene in your attic space, you need to be using open cell. If you use closed cell, you are very, very silly because it's not breathable. And you're going to trap all the humidity and moisture from your ductwork in the attic. So closed cell has a higher R value, which is a pro. It's a vapor barrier. That's a pro. So that means if your roof leaks, you might not even know because it's going to get stuck in the Icynene until the Icynene falls down and you get a collapse. And the problem is it should be used for below grade applications, which means underground. That means not for a roof because you have ductwork in your attic that during the hot summer, when you have hot air in the attic, it's going to hit the ductwork and it's going to make condensation occur. So condensation will occur on the vents. It will not be able to breathe out if you have closed cell. If you have open cell, then it can breathe out. which is why Polyglass recommends installing an anchor barrier. You see on the roof here, an anchor barrier. This is Polyanchor HV on top of the sheathing in the event you have isonine sprayed in, because we don't know, unless you know 100% if that's open cell or closed cell, we don't know what's there. If we cover over with self-adhered insulation over closed cell isonine, what's going to happen is the moisture is going to evaporate, get stuck in the isonine, it's not going to be able to escape through the plywood, and then it's going to just sit there in the isonine. Eventually, that's going to cause the plywood to rot, and your roof is going to collapse down. You don't want that. That's what's going to happen if you do it the wrong way. So if you have isonine, you need to install an anchor barrier on top. You can use 30-pound or Polyanchor HV. I don't recommend 30-pound anymore. 30-pound is terrible. It performs only a minus 67, only a 67.5 wind pressure. That's bad. We'll talk more about that later in the wind tunnel, whereas Polyanchor HV is 112.5. Now, you might ask, Tim, then why are you putting self-adhered underlayments straight to the deck on so many jobs? Because self-adhered scores better for wind rating. If you don't have breathability issues in the attic, then you're better off putting a self-adhered because it's going to be more resistant for a windstorm. Now, it makes sense to put an anchor sheet if you're spraying isonine. It makes sense to put an anchor sheet if you don't have enough ventilation in your attic, then put an anchor sheet. If it's hot as hell in your attic, you don't have vents, you don't want to spend money on solar vents, you don't have soffit vents and gable vents, then put an anchor sheet. Because then what can happen is that the moisture and the hot air can escape through the plywood joints. As soon as you tape over those joints with a secondary water barrier, or you put a self-adhered down direct to the deck, you are not getting the breathability anymore, and you are closing the moisture possibly in the deck. All right. Active versus passive ventilation. So there's different types of vents that we can get on a roof. We just talked about venting roofs. Ridge vents, that's where you have right here on the bottom right, the shingle, where hot air is going to escape to the top, warm air rises, goes to the top, comes out of the roof. That's passive ventilation. Gable vents are passive ventilation, and that's where you have a vent in your triangle of your gable, right in the hole, and then it comes out. Soffit vents, that's on the bottom, the overhang on your roof, where you have vents in the soffit. That allows for the warm air to escape. Ridge vents are better obviously, because it's at the top of the roof instead of at the bottom of the roof. You also can have off-ridge vents, which is like basically in this location where my solar vent is, except it's just a regular passive vent. I don't recommend them. They're very prone to leaking, especially when they're self-flashed. You're much better curb mounting vents that are off-ridge, like I did in this photo here. And then also you've got whirlybirds or turbines, which are the old ones. Wind hits it, it spins, and it cycles hot air out. Those are old school. Nobody really does those anymore. They're ugly. They look like crap. Looks like grandma and grandpa's house, and nobody does them. Solar vents. This is the solar vent right here. This is curb mounted onto this roof. That's actually my roof. So that's curb mounted onto the roof, where we build it up with 2x4s. We have to get a custom piece of metal, and we create a custom collar. So that piece that goes around the vent is custom made. My guys literally cut and bend that on site, custom around the vent. It takes a lot of time. So that's a solar vent. Those are active ventilation because sun hits the solar panel, turns the motor on, cycles hot air out. Even if it's not sunny, you can plug it in and it can still work. Now, other solar things, right? I do not recommend solar panels on any roof unless you have a metal roof. Reason being is that on most roofs, you're doing this. You're attaching the rack directly through your membrane and through your roof. At some point, those are going to fail. The screws are going to fail. Shit's going to get stuck underneath it and deteriorate your roof. It's just going to be bad. Trust me. I have a video on it. I had solar on for my pool on one of my houses. A bunch of crap got stuck under there because I was renting that house, so I couldn't go up there and clean it all the time. And then it caused a roof leak, so I changed it. This is pretty much the install method of any type of roof except for a metal roof, because you're fastening directly into the deck. On a metal roof, they sell clips that can clip the rack to the seams, so you're not penetrating the deck. The other added benefit is that even if you do get leaves and stuff stuck under the panels, it's not going to deteriorate the panels because it's metal. Little roots are not going to get stuck and grow into your shingles or into your tile membrane. It's metal. It's going to protect the roof from that occurring. Flat roofs. Asphalt roofs versus TPO roofs. Asphalt roofs are easier to repair than TPO. They're thicker and more durable, less prone to puncturing than TPO. Longer warranties because you can put more layers than TPO. Smaller rolls are better for tight areas because they're 4-foot rolls. And you can still upgrade to white energy ratings that are higher than TPO, like Polyfresco, which is a 96 SRI, which is higher than GAF TPO's 94 SRI. This right here is a picture of a Polyfresco roof that I put on. And during the last hurricane, a giant vent scraped across the whole roof. The benefits of an asphalt roof is this tore through the cap sheet, which is like 180 mils thick. But it did not tear through the bottom layers. So it did not cause a leak on the inside. And this was a laundromat with very, very expensive equipment underneath that could have gotten damaged had they not put a 3-layer system. TPO roofs are a single ply. That's why they call them single ply as TPO. It's the same thing. It's either TPO or PVC or EPDM as single ply. EPDM we don't see in Florida because it's black traditionally, so we don't install it, even though I've been to training and know how to do it. TPO is the most common because it's cheaper. PVC is most common with like restaurants because PVC is basically the chemicals that come out of the tube won't deteriorate PVC. TPO is cheaper to install because they're 10-foot rolls and it's only 1 layer, so the install is way faster since you're only putting 1 layer down and they're 10-foot rolls that you can kick out. They're potting water resistant since they're rubber, and they're white and energy rated. Those are the pros. Cons are that the standard TPO roof is only 60 mils thick. They also make them in 45. The highest is 80. Your flat roof is going to be a minimum of over 200 mils if you do it asphalt. That's why I recommend asphalt, because people go up on the roof and they put holes in it all the time. Birds go up in the roof and their claws put holes in the roof. Iguanas go up on the roof and their claws put holes in the roof. A windstorm comes, it scrapes something on the roof, it cuts the whole roof open. I had a tornado hit a building that I put a TPO roof on. Actually, it was a PVC roof, 80 mil PVC roof. A tornado hit near the building. It blew the gutters off the building like a can of tuna, and the gutter scraped across the whole roof and cut it open like a scar. And it was an insulation, a tapered insulation underneath. So during the storm, all the water then went into that opening and completely ruined the tapered insulation. That's what happens with TPO and PVC. Same thing exactly happened on this Polyfresco roof, and it only went through the cap sheet. It did not go through the other 2 layers. That's why I recommend asphalt roofs over TPO roofs. That's why I say no to TPO. If you're cheap, TPO, but it sucks, you get what you pay for. Product data sheets here. You can see I ain't lying. Anyone can Google product data sheets online. So you can see that SAV Plus, which is the interply layer, even a 2-ply roof, if you only do 2 layers of asphalt, which has an NOA, SAV Plus is 100 mils. Polyfresco, you see right here, it says thickness, 100 mils. That's the thickness. Look right here. Polyfresco, 168 mils. So that's 268 mils for just 2 layers. A lot of the time we're doing 3 layers on roofs. These 2 products together, by the way, is a 25-year warranty. This TPO here is a 20-year warranty, and guess what? If something happens, GAF is not going to cover it, because I've had stuff happen to TPO roofs before and put in warranty claims, and they don't cover it. I've had Polyglass warranty claims before, and they cover it. So Polyglass actually honors their warranties. GAF, from my experience, does not at all. That's with liquid and with TPO. In fact, they try to blame the contractor and get out of it. And they got more money than me, so it's easier for them because they have a million lawyers on staff in New Jersey. TPO, you see 45, 60, 80. Those are the mils thickness. Say no to TPO, people. All right, let's talk about sloping. on a flat roof. Pitch on a low sloped roof. I've put some tapered insulation quotes up here. You can see right here, here's a quote for a building that I quoted out here in Jupiter. You can see what it does is this is what I get as a contractor. It tells me the area that we're tapering, that's 183 squares, the slope, a 1/4 inch. This is your minimum thickness, 1.5, and your maximum thickness, 8.26. And then we're going to add 2-inch fill insulation. So really, you're going to get 3.5 minimum. Tells you your R value, 27.9. And then it tells you your minimum R value, so where it's only 3.5 inches is 8.6. Crickets, it tells you your cricket area, everything. This is what you need to know. This is a building that's 183 squares. Because we're installing tapered insulation, it means it's layered. So we're actually installing 467 squares of material on a 183 square roof. That's why tapered insulation gets so expensive, because you have to install multiple layers of it, which you can see down here, to get to your pitch. So here is your standard build. You can see here your pieces. And this is what you get as a contractor that tells you how to build the roof. You see X's and Y's. X plus 4 means X plus a 4-inch base layer. Y plus 4 means Y plus 4-inch base layer. X plus 6 means X plus 6-inch base layer. And it's showing you how to build the roof right here. Here's the puzzle that we follow once we get the tapered insulation pieces. And you can see on the bottom here, this builds up. So here's your layers. So even though your roof is only 183 squares, you're installing 467 squares of material. So when you're layering things, you're not paying the same price for one layer that you would for 3 layers. It costs more to install. It's more time. That's more labor costs. That's more material costs because you're putting more materials on. And the thicker slope you get, the more layers. If you're doing 1/8-inch slope, it's going to have 1/8-inch slope on 12 inches, so 1 foot. It's going to be less of a slope, which means less layers than a 1/4 inch. Florida Building Code requires 1/4 inch on new construction, 1/8 inch on a re-roof. And they do require slope since Surfside because the building fell down. So you have to add slope if you're re-roofing a flat roof. If you don't have proper slope, you're not going to pass inspection. Now, there are other ways to slope a roof besides tapered insulation. You can do lightweight insulated concrete, which is more expensive than tapered insulation, but it's a longer term finish because you can re-roof over the lightweight. Even though it'll probably get dinged up and it'll need repairs, it's still cheaper than re-roofing with full tapered insulation in 25 or 30 years. But it is more expensive up front. And there's like water costs and utility costs, and there's a bunch of crap you have to do to make sure you can do it. Now, how to slope a roof deck. Roof deck is pre-sloped. That's the best scenario for a roofer. I can give you the best price then. I don't care about making money. I can do my job without having to worry about slope. So architects and engineers out there, we love when you pre-slope the roof. Pre-slope the concrete. Pre-slope the wood deck. Much better for money savings. Now, drainage plan. On a flat roof, we have to provide a drainage plan. You can see right here, these little squares are scupper drains. These little circles are field drains. Any flat roof requires drainage calculations for the permit. Engineered drainage calculations. Those are not included in any roofer's price. Those are always going to be an addition. This is those calculations. And this tells us where to put the drains if they're not existing. You have to have an overflow, at least one overflow drain for every field drain. And they will require X amount of drains per square foot. That's what the engineers have to do. Okay, let's talk about roof deck. How does the type of roof deck affect the installation method? Number 1, structural wood. You see right here, structural wood. Number 2, concrete. Number 3, structural metal. And 4, gypsum boards and tectum, which are more rare. It's important for roofers to core test. It is vital for an accurate flat roof estimate. I usually do it for free when I do a flat roof estimate if it's commercial. But if it's raining and I have to come back, I'm not going to come back a second time, so I'm going to make you pay me for that. Or if you want a report to share to all the other roofers, then I'm going to charge you for that. Now, structural wood roof deck. Anchor sheet or wood primer. So when you have a wood deck, You used to have to put an anchor sheet or wood primer. On a flat roof, you have to put an anchor sheet or wood primer. You can't self-adhere straight to wood. You need to prime it first with WB3000, a wood primer, if you're doing polyglass. So, plywood in the 1980s, 5/8 inch. We started using plywood in the 1980s. In 91, after Andrew, they started using 5/8 instead of 1/2 inch. Before the 80s, they used tongue and groove. And then if you have a wood shake roof, a lot of times they have battens like this, and you may not even have a deck to it. If there's a wood shake roof, a lot of time you'll just have the battens, and you have to re-sheathe on top of it because you have no sheathing if you're converting from a shake to a metal or a shake to a tile roof. Structural concrete. You see here's some twin T's right here, and then there's also poured slabs. So you can have a poured slab with rebar, or you can have twin T. If you have a twin T, you need to do a vapor barrier, or at least you have to tape the seams of the twin T's. Otherwise, you're going to get leaks during the re-roof process. So we need to know if you have a concrete deck, whether it's twin T or a poured slab. And we need to make sure there's no topping slab or hydraulic cement on top too, because you've got to adhere directly to the structural concrete, not a topping slab. And you can heat apply it with torch or hot mop, or you can self-adhere to the concrete. Requires primer, asphalt primer. And it requires the deck to be cleaned. Either of these applications requires a clean deck. Now, structural metal. This is what it looks like. You need to anchor an intermediary layer. You can install paper or TPO directly to corrugated metal. We have to cover it with either lightweight insulated concrete, which we talked about in the sloping, or tapered insulation, which we talked about in the sloping, or cement roof boards like Secure Rock or Den's Deck on top to create a flat surface for us to install to. So those will be screwed through the metal. You can also have exposed metal, which is more for like warehouses or Florida rooms. You don't run into that with a enclosed AC space. Last, gypsum boards and tectum. Tectum is rare. I've done roofs on tectum. Tectum is usually like a school gymnasium or a church. It's places that get loud, and it's a flat deck. Tectum helps the sound from reverberating. But just like a structural metal with gypsum boards and tectum, you need an intermediary layer. So you've got to either cover it with lightweight, cement boards, or tapered insulation. If you have questions about any of this stuff, feel free to email me, tim@perkinsroofing.net, or just comment on the YouTube video. I usually comment back. And if you want to hire me to be a consultant, I also consult. $3.50 an hour, or I consult by the job. So if you want me to consult for your roofing company or consult for a roofing project that somebody else is doing, hit me up, tim@perkinsroofing.net. Next, roofing coatings and liquid applied systems. You can see here, these are all liquid high rises that I've done. This one here is in Miami Beach, and this one's in Fort Lauderdale Beach. So, types of waterproofings. You have an acrylic waterproofing, which is a water-based waterproofing. Pros of an acrylic are that they stay white and hold SRI. They're easy maintenance, direct to concrete application, and they have a 15 to 20 year roof life, and also they're recoatable. Cons of an acrylic are you need a minimum of a 1/4 inch slope. If you don't have slope, then the acrylic will alligator up. It'll peel from ponding water. So it's not good for roofs with ponding water. It'll alligator up. Thermoplastic coatings. That's what I did on this one up here. This high rise here. It's called the Majestic. It's in Miami Beach, Bay Harbor to be specific. So thermoplastic pros, great for TPO, great for ponding water resistant, holds SRI better than silicone. Cons are that it's not as durable as silicone or urethane for ponding water. So it's kind of like a mix. It's like a best of both worlds between acrylic and silicone, really, because it's also recoatable. So that's the thermoplastic coating. You can see here's before the old asphalt roof. Would have cost an arm and a leg because this is like 27 stories up, and it's on the beach. Can't get a crane in there. So would have had to do a hydraulic hoist like we did on some of the other buildings. If you've watched those YouTube videos, probably would have been like $1 million re-roof. Instead, we coated it and saved them. A coating probably cost 15%. I can't remember what we did that job for. I think it was like $180,000. 150 grand, 180 grand, something like that. So, we saved them $800,000 or whatever. Silicone. This is the bottom one. This one's a silicone. That's good for ponding areas and affordable. This roof literally gets underwater. It gets like an inch of water on it at all times. So we didn't have a choice. That was either silicone or urethane. Cons are that it can only be recoated with silicone if you use solvent-based. If you don't use solvent-based and you use high solids, you can't even recoat it at all. And it gets dirty really fast. Silicone does. And also, it's very slippery. Silicone will turn yellow over time. It won't stay bright white like that. It gets dirty, like I said. And if you walk directly on silicone, you're going to bust it, especially when it's wet. The gray here, we actually did a traffic coat, and we broadcast granules. It's hard to see on this building, too, but there is a gray trail that we put on, a maintenance trail. And what you do on that with the liquid applied is you just broadcast silica sand into it. You're broadcasting aggregate so that you have a non-slip surface. So basically, you do your primer coat, you do your base coat, you do your top coat, and then you do what we call a traffic coat, where we come back over, we tape off the areas that they want the walkways to be, tape them off with blue tape, paint it with a different color, and throw aggregate in. Next, we've got urethane. Pros and cons for urethane. Urethane is the best for pedestrian traffic, strongest 20-year life on polyurethane. Silicones usually come with a 10-year warranty. Acrylics usually come with a 10, 15, or 20-year warranty. And thermoplastics usually come with a 10-year warranty, where polyurethane comes with a 20-year warranty. It's also much more expensive in a lot of cases, depending on if you're putting overburden on top and if there's under AC below and what you're coating to. If you're coating direct to concrete, it's way more expensive usually if you're acting as a terrace deck. So cons, much more expensive. More systems require reinforcement, but it's the strongest. It's the best. It's just the most expensive. It also sticks to anything, and it's recoatable, and you can put an overburden on top of polyurethane depending on what system you do. So some urethanes you cannot put an overburden, or they have rules about the weight you can put on top of it. So maybe you can just loose lay some turf or something over it. Others, like Kemper system, there's no weight requirement, so you can put whatever the heck you want on top of it. You can put planters on top of it. You can put 8 feet of dirt and put palm trees on top of it if you want with polyurethane, with Kemper system. General coating stuff. Pros are no demo. Systems do have permits for roofing systems. They're less expensive, and they're great for logistical issues like high-rise condos where you have to bring cranes in, and cranes are expensive. It's way cheaper to just bring buckets up the elevator than bring empty buckets back down the elevator. General cons, recovery. You're doing a recovery, so there's less durability than a re-roof. You're not going to get the same millage that you would in a re-roof. Punctures easily. So it's lighter than TPO even as far as a millage. So most coating systems, you're usually getting between like 30 to 60 mils or something. Polyurethane is really heavy though. So polyurethane is the one counter to that, I would say. And some insurance don't count liquid roofs. That's another thing. You have to make sure your insurance is going to count this as a roofing system and reset your insurance. And lastly, you need to have 8% or less moisture for all of these applications. So if you have a bunch of leaks and your roof is at 100% moisture, we can do moisture surveys to find out how much moisture is in the roof. I have brought back a roof that was at like 94% moisture. We put a bunch of breather vents in and then waited like 2 years for the roof to fully breathe out. We came back 1 year later, retested it. It was down to like 40-something%. Then retested again a year later, got it down under 8 and recoated it. So you can do that. All right, I mentioned terrace deck systems briefly. Terrace and balcony deck systems, pedestrian friendly. That's like a system where you're going to put lawn chairs up and chill up on the roof. Must be a concrete deck over enclosed living space. You cannot put a terrace deck, a polyurethane system, over a wood deck or a metal deck. Waterproofing must be installed directly to the substrate. You got to go direct to the concrete. And that means that the walls, you got to cut the stucco and go straight to the concrete block. And order of operations is key. If you're doing one of these systems and there's sliding doors or railings, you need to remove them and then reinstall them or install new ones in order to do this system and get a warranty. Overburden. You must match the waterproofing manufacturer specifications. You can't just put whatever you want on top. You got to follow the specs. I did a urethane system on a roof before, and the owner didn't hire us to do the tiles. He hired someone cheaper, and the tile guy put on like an 8-inch mortar bed and then put on the tiles, and then the system cracked, and we had to have Sika out there. We had to have everyone out there. GC, everyone was out there. All engineer was out there, and they determined, insurance got called out there. They determined that the homeowner messed up by hiring a tile guy who put on way too thick of a mortar bed, and it cracked the system. It wasn't our fault. So you got to make sure you follow the manufacturer specifications. Balcony decks. Balcony decks can be any substrate, but concrete is the most common. Waterproofing options are expanded for balcony decks because you're over air instead of over enclosed living space, depending upon if an overburden will be placed on top of the balcony, because a lot of other coatings cannot handle the weight of urethane. Again, order of operations are key. If you're doing a balcony, you've got to remove the railings. You can't just waterproof around them, and you've got to remove the slider and change out the track and waterproof under the slider track. That's the right way to do it. I've got a video. Hey guys, Tim with Proof Pro. All that. Why? If you want to watch on YouTube. It's only also went back and did the 624 on the walls so that we could stucco back down to the roof to wall transition at the terrace deck. So you can see it looks pretty good. I'll take a couple more videos close up so you can see what the finished product looks like. See here, on top of everything, our mill gauges,
and the base coat was embedded with fabric.
If you look closely, you can see the rebar getting embedded into the concrete. It's already actually waterproof after 10 minutes. You see, we've got spike shoes on to walk in that area. And there's a lot that goes into them, and they're only a few labor intensive. You see this when we did like a Deca flake finish. Sorry about that, as we accidentally skip sloped underlayments. Sloped underlayments. So sloped roof underlayments, general anchor or self-adhered. Anchored, pros, easier demo, better breathability, ventilation. We already mentioned that a little earlier. Cons, lower wind resistance, more prone to tears and leaks, generally less thickness for anchor sheets than with self-adhered. Now look, we're going to go through wind ratings and thickness just generally on some of these sloped underlayments for slope roofs. You can see here, Tamco 30. This is the best 30-pound on the market. Anchor sheet. It's wind rated for 162 miles per hour. It's only 24 mils thick. UV rating is 90 days. Poly Anchor HV is Polyglass's anchor sheet. That's rated for 210 mile per hour winds. It's rated for 55 mils thickness, 90 days. That's what's on here on the top. TU Plus, 254 miles per hour if you self-adhere it straight to the deck. 80 mils thickness, 20-year warranty. You see these two don't have a warranty. And 180-day UV rating. So everything has their pros and cons. Everything also is going to cost different amounts of money. Shingle roofs. 3-tab versus architectural. You can see on the bottom, this is what 3-tab looks like. It's got the little black tabs versus architectural, which is layered. 3-tab shingles are only rated for 60 miles an hour. Why anyone would put that in Florida is insane. Never put a 3-tab roof on a roof in Florida. I still see people do it all the time. Architectural shingles are barely more money. It makes no sense. Architecturals are rated for 110 to 130 miles per hour, depending on the shingle. There are also specialty shingles that you can buy. It's less common in Florida. You don't really see it. You see them up north, but not really here in Florida. You see them every once in a while, but not common. Because most people, if they're going to pay for the specialty shingle, which are expensive, you'll just get tile or metal instead. Brands, GAF, Certainteed, Owens Corning, Tamco. I usually use Certainteed, and this picture is why. You see here, the pink is Owens Corning. The white is GAF. The gray is Tamco. And the brown, we've got Landmark and Landmark Pro. Oops. Landmark on the left, Landmark Pro on the right. You see they stack these up together. Landmark weighs the most, and it's also the thickest. This is the same number of bundles. Each of these is 3 squares. It says 9 bundles. 9, 9, 9, 9. This is why I use Certainteed. They're thicker than other shingles on the market. Shingle roof underlayments. We just talked about general underlayments. Let's talk about all the shingle roof underlayments that are out there. See, this is a shingle roof that I've done recently. I did MTS and IRXC on top with shingles. Now wind ratings and thickness. Tamco 30-pound. We already talked about 30-pound. The Tamco 30 pound is the best 30 pound. There are crappier, like APOC 30 is terrible. So there are very, very bad 30 pounds out there too. Let's compare that to Shark Skin Ultra, which is a synthetic. People are using synthetics right now to give cheaper prices, but synthetics suck. Let's talk about why. Shark Skin Ultra Synthetic, 209 mile per hour winds. That's pretty good. It's only 15 mils thick. 15 mils. It's like nothing. 50-year warranty, 360-day UV. Tears so easily. Owens Corning Pro Armor Synthetic. And also these synthetics are usually tabbed in with like plastic tabs instead of nails and tin caps like the 30 pound. Owens Corning Pro Armor Synthetic. No wind rating available because you don't have to for shingle roof underlayments because you're nailing the shingles in on top of the underlayment. So that means that if a storm hits in between the dry-in and the shingle install, you have no way of knowing what your underlayment can live up to in the meantime. Thickness is only 8 mils on this product. It's like a Kleenex. Warranty is 10 years. UV 90 days. CT, this is CertainTeed. I like CertainTeed shingles, but I don't like their synthetics. I don't use synthetics. Again, no wind rating. You don't have to provide one because the shingles are supposed to be installed on top, and those are fastened in, so the underlayment wind rating is not, I guess, doesn't matter long term, but it does matter between when the shingles are installed and when the drying is done. Thickness, 12 mils. Again, very thin. 8 mils, 12 mils, 15 mils on these synthetics. Warranty, 10 years. UV, only 90 days. Polyglass IRXC. This is what I use as my standard application, with MTS as my upgrade application. And I use them both if you're doing secondary water barrier. IRXC is 254 miles an hour. Thickness, 60 mils. Warranty is 10 years. UV is 90 days. MTS is 254, 60 mils, 20 years. 180 days. So MTS, you're getting, instead of a 10-year warranty, a 20-year warranty. You're getting a longer UV exposure for an extra 90 days. And MTS is just, even though they're both 60 mils, MTS is more rigid. It just feels stronger. And one thing with IRXC, during the summer, especially here in Florida, because it's black, it turns like really, really gooey, like gum on hot days. That doesn't happen with MTS since it's green. And when it's gooey like that, it'll rip more, and that's a 60 mil paper. So if that'll rip when it's hot as a 60 mil paper, what do you think a 12 and 8 and a 15 mil paper is going to do? Even 30 pound rips all the time, and that's 24 mils. Like, rips pretty easy. So just keep that stuff in mind. Tile underlayments. All right. So we talked about Tamco already. Don't need to rehash that. Poly anchor and TU plus. So if you do poly anchor, anchor sheet, and then TU plus on top, you get a 210 mile per hour wind rating. It's 135 mils thick, the 2 layers, 55 plus 80, 20-year warranty, and UV is up to 270 days because you get 90 days on the poly anchor and 180 days on the TU plus. Brow Tile Seal HT. Wind rating is 235 miles an hour, 60 mils thickness, 30-year warranty, 360 days UV. That's great UV. 30-year warranty is limited, but it doesn't have the wind rating of TU, and it's not as thick as TU, even the TU Max. So the Brow Tile Seal is more comparable to the TU Max, but it's a worse product because TU Max is the same, but has a 254 mile per hour wind rating. The only difference is that, yeah, you get longer UV out of it, and yeah, 30-year limited warranty versus TU Max is 20. But guess what? I know that Polyglass will honor their warranties. Boral, I've never had them cover a warranty before. TU Plus, 80 mils instead of 60 mils. That's the difference between the TU Max and the TU Plus. I use TU Plus as my standard. It's simply the best, most efficient product on the market, though there is one better one that we're going to talk about, but it's more expensive. And it's tough because secondary water barrier, it gets really expensive. Number 6, this is the system that I use on most of the tile roofs that I'm installing that you see in my YouTube videos. I'm doing TU Plus and MTS Plus. So I stick MTS Plus directly to the wood and then put TU Plus on top. This is good for a 282 mile per hour wind rating. On this building, we actually did 30 pound. We did Tamco 30 pound with MTS and then TU Plus on top. They wanted an anchor sheet. And that was back before they changed the rules down in Dade. This is like right when they changed the code. If you do both these layers, you get 30-year warranty. You get secondary water barrier insurance credit. It's 140 mils thick and 360 days UV. Lastly, this is the thickest single ply on the market for under tile. Certainty Flint Lastic self-adhered cap. There's a 291 mile per hour wind rating. It's a single layer that's 160 mils thick. So you see TU and MTS is 140. The Flint Lastic is 160 by itself. And it costs about the same as putting both MTS and TU Plus 2, material-wise. Labor, it's a little cheaper because it's only one layer instead of two. Now, the issue is that you're not going to get secondary water barrier insurance credit with this, so you still got to put another one under if you want the credit. And then a warranty for Flint Lastic, UV, it's an unlimited exposure because it's a cap sheet, so technically you could use it as a flat roof. And then for warranty purposes, they match the warranty of the tile. So if you put a concrete tile on top, concrete tile only has a 25-year warranty, you get a 25-year warranty. If you put a clay tile on top, they'll match the clay tile warranty, but only up to 50 years. So you can get a 50-year warranty if you put this on with a clay tile, the Flint Lastic SA cap. But if you want to put it self-adhered under, you got to put certain teeth self-adhered, secondary under it, and it can get kind of pricey. But if you want it, let me know. We can do it. Concrete tiles versus clay tiles. I have videos about this that I recommend watching where I'm like jumping on the tiles and stuff and performing science experiments on them or whatever. Pricing, tile roof install. Concrete screwed in price is between $975 to $1,200 a square. Concrete dual component foam is $1,050 to $1,300 a square. Clay dual component foam is $1,200 to $2,000 a square because clay tile prices vary a lot based on the tile that you select. Now, benefits of clay, they're not always more expensive, super expensive, but they can be just a little bit, or they can be a lot more expensive depending on the tile. But concrete tile roof life is usually 18 to 23 years. Clay is usually 25 to 35 years. Algae treatments and broken tiles and mortar touch-ups. Mortar touch-ups you're still going to have to do. But roof repairs. These things are going to be less, you're going to have to do less of these things with clay because clay absorbs less moisture. Concrete tile absorbs about 20% moisture. The clay tiles that I'm installing are grade 1, which are less than 6% moisture, and the ones that I'm installing are usually 2% moisture. Concrete is 18%, so it's right about 20% moisture. Now, because of the moisture absorption, the tiles are going to break naturally. They're not going to just stay the same. Clay tiles will not break naturally. The only thing that's going to break clay tiles is people walking on them or lizards or whatever, iguanas or birds or whatever. Coconuts falling on them. Clay tiles, because they're not absorbing as much moisture, are going to get dirty much slower. You only have to clean a clay tile roof every 5 years or so instead of every other year. And then they're less likely to leak than a concrete tile because they're going to have less moisture get in and affect the paper, and then the paper goes bad. Because the paper is the water barrier, not the tile. But if more water touches the paper, it's going to degrade faster. So the paper is going to last longer under the clay tile. Hence, why Flint Lastic will give a 50-year warranty with clay and only 25 with concrete. Now, clay tiles, specialty tiles, right? Some good clay tile brands. You got Santa Fe, Spanish S. It's a 50-year warranty, painted tile. So the color is not baked in. It's painted on top. And there's 96 pieces a square. A concrete tile roof is 90 pieces a square. La Escandela Planum is flat. That's a 100-year warranty. They're ceramically glazed, not painted. And there's 111 pieces a square. Those are a flat tile. Better. These are your better options. Varela. Varela is 88 pieces a square. Caribbean is 96 pieces a square. So it has a obtuse look to it. Spanish is a little sexier. A little more expensive, though. Then there's Varela Flats, 123 pieces per square. They're super expensive because they're smaller pieces, which means more foam. More pieces means more money. All of these Varela tiles have a lifetime warranty. And the red and brown colors are natural colors. They're achieved through the firing process. So these colors like this is a Varela tile roof. This is a natural color. This isn't painted on. They achieve that through fire. This one's also a Varaya roof, the Fisher Island job. But this one here is on Indian Creek. That's like $100 million house. That guy's a super rich dude. But you can see the colors, the beautiful colors. Now here's Tejas Bora. This one here is Tejas Bora. That's the Arctica. That's their white color. That's a flat tile that's a little bit more affordable. It's actually cheaper than the Varaya flat tile, affordability-wise, but it's a really good product. Maybe a better product. But the flat 10 is 93 pieces per square, 50-year warranty on it. So not the lifetime warranty, but 50 years. It has ceramic glazing is how they treat it, or it's digitally printed on. And these tiles are really cool. You can scratch them up and then they just buff right out. It's really cool to finish on them. Wait till my video comes out for that. I think it comes out next week. It'll be out by the time this video's out. You check it out. It'll be cool. Best is Ludowici. This is a Ludowici roof right here. They've got a million different tiles, though, so those are the ones that get really expensive. They got a 75-year warranty. These are the ones I can jump up and down on all day, and they don't do anything. Ludowicis are amazing. That's what Trump puts on his buildings is Ludowicis. So Ludowici tiles are the best by far, but they're also insanely expensive. So if you want to spend a lot of money on your roof and you want the best roof, Ludowici's probably better than a metal roof even. They're amazing. Alrighty, metal roof underlayments. We already talked about Tamco 30. Now let's talk about Grace Ice and Water Shield. Grace Ice and Water, SWR. So this counts as a secondary water barrier if you put it down under metal. I don't have it pictured here. The wind rating is not public because you're putting metal on top. It's 40 mils thick. There's no fire rating on it. 10-year warranty. UV is 120 days. A lot of the time I'm bidding against people putting this on because it's cheaper than my polyglass products. So this is usually what I'm bidding against is this, or I'm bidding against 30 in VersaShield, which is stupid. So here I'm actually doing it on this job because this is the way you used to have to do it before XFR was invented. This job was from like 2018 before XFR was invented, back before I convinced Natalino to fabricate XFR. But on that building, you can see from the high reach that brown paper is VersaShield. We don't do it ever since XFR came out. But back in the day, you'd have to put a fire barrier for Miami-Dade under the metal. So you have to put 30 pound, then 2 VersaShields, and then the aluminum panels because it's a waterfront building there. Bad part about that is that you have exposed tin caps that are now going to touch those metal panels that can lead to rusting. Bad. You don't want that. That is bad. So, yeah, I don't recommend having fasteners touch your metal panels. Tin touching aluminum, tin touching steel. Because guess what? It can cause electrolysis through the panel. But that's how you did it back in the day. Some people are still doing that because it's cheaper, but it's dumb. So don't recommend it. Polyglass. These are the options that I'm usually providing. Polyglass MTS is a secondary water barrier. It's the green paper that you saw up here. That's that paper. You can still put that under metal, but it is not a fire barrier. So in Miami-Dade and Broward and the Keys, you have to have a fire barrier under metal. Everywhere else in Florida, you do not. So you can put MTS directly under it. It's 60 mils, no fire barrier, no fire rating. It's not Class A UL listed, but you do get a 20-year warranty, 180 days, same wind rating as XFR. It's just a little bit thinner. It's not as thick, and you still get the secondary water barrier insurance discount. XFR, you get all the benefits, but it's 80 mils, and it's also fire rated. So if you have an interior house fire, kitchen fire, it's not going to melt your panels from below, theoretically. Now, for aluminum, because aluminum melts at a lower temperature than steel, you have to get higher temperatures for it to melt. In Dade, Broward, and the Keys, you have to actually still put 2 XFRs for enough fire rating to meet Class A UL listing fire standards. So if you do double XFR, you're getting 160 mils thickness. This is what I put on my house in Fort Lauderdale. So I put this on my own house. You get a 282 mile per hour wind rating, 30-year warranty, 180 and 180. Panel types. I have YouTube videos on all this stuff. I have a whole 2-hour YouTube video on how to re-roof metal roof step by step if you want to do it. Stone-coated metal roof, same thing. Stone-coated is stamped panels. So stamped panels are basically panels that look like tile or shingle. They have varying aesthetics, exposed fasteners, more expensive, and lower wind rating. More money, less wind, maybe better looking, depending on what you think. Now, other panel types, exposed fastener. These two up top are exposed fastener. You can see the fasteners rust out. And you've got seams on your 5V between the panels. So those will go bad on those seams that are exposed. and then you've got to repaint them. So 5E, it is good for wind rating, 206 mile per hour winds, but they age faster due to exposed fasteners and lower performance against water intrusion because of the fasteners. So, yeah, got to swap fasteners probably every 15 to 25 years, somewhere in that range, depending on how close you are to the salt water. It gets expensive. Hidden fastener systems. You've got snap locked and you've got crimped. This one here is a snap lock panel. You can tell because it's got like a triangle nose to it. This is the same panel, snap lock. My videos here are going to be crimped. But because I don't really install snap lock. Usually snap lock, you have a 1-inch seam, less expensive, quicker install because you just snap them into place, but they're only rated for 168 mile per hour winds. Crimped is a 1.5-inch seam, better seal, better wind performance, 190 power winds with steel, 215 with aluminum. That's what you see in these videos. If you check these videos out. The other day, we were working on getting these panels right here installed, crimped. And you can do single lock or double lock for the crimp system. So in this video, or in the video from my house where I say beware of solar panels, you can look at that. Once this panel fits in here, there's going to be one small panel here. That's a crimp system. Different seam. The valley is going to install. So anytime you have a wall transition, you're going to have this headlap. So you can see right here where I'm sitting, because I'm trying not to zoom in my area, but you can see what this looks like where the valley terminates right here. You have your standard panels here. So here's our regular panel starting, the valley termination, regular panels here. And this is a very hard detail to do it right. These will, so snap lock ones you just pop right on. You screw them in on top of each other on the snap locks. Types and thickness of metal. The type of metal matters. Steel, you've got 26 gauge or 24 gauge. Kynar coated versus mill finish. 35-year warranty for Metal Alliance for steel. And do not install it within 1,500 feet from salt or brackish water. I like to say 2,500 feet because better safe than sorry, in my opinion. This is a new product. It's called Coastalum that U.S. Steel makes. It's 24 gauge steel with a coating on it that's magnesium, zinc, and aluminum coated. You can install that anywhere from 500 linear feet away from breaking surf, which is the ocean, this is made for canals, basically. Canals and rivers and stuff like that, Coastalum. 25-year warranty from Metal Alliance for Coastalum. Aluminum. This is within 2,500 feet of salt or brackish water is what you want to do. You can do 032 or 040. So 24 gauge is thicker than 26 gauge on steel, but 040 is thicker than 032 on aluminum. 25-year warranty on aluminum from Metal Alliance. And then you've got stowed coated panels. We talked about those. Those are the stamped panels. You do have exposed fasteners with those. And people put with the wrong fasteners all the time. Trust me, because you're being cheap. The stone coated fasteners are expensive. They don't want to pay for them. Oh, and you can do copper, stainless steel, etc. Copper roofs are insanely expensive. Usually only churches do them because they get free money from people. Metal panel coatings. Metal you can restore. I've got videos on it. Check it out. Here's some videos. Metals can be restored with various liquid applications from waterproofing systems like GAF Hydrostop or Polybrite PB70. I like PB70 because they actually honor their warranties. Hydrostop had trouble with that in the past. It's not simple painting. There's a lot of preparation involved. You've got to replace screws, replace damaged panels, wire brush and remove rust and treat with metal primer, seal flashings detailed with 3-course thermoplastic waterproofing, and a minimum 2 full applications of waterproofing after primed in details. So there's a lot into it. It ain't just painting. Check these videos out if you want to see all of it, but this is a high that we did.
This is like melting, like trying to sit on this.
We matched the color too. So you've got different colors like we did color to match red. And this one is heavier duty and it seals and it's a lot thicker. So this gets brushed on. And I know this video is long, so I'm not going to go too much further into that, but metal roof detail, key details. We've got wall flashings. Any wall flashings you've got to replace. This is my friend's roof, actually, the green one. And she was like, hey, this siding guy told me that he just wants to put the siding back on. And I was like, no. I was like, that's stupid. Have him take the siding off, leave it exposed, leave the paper on. We need to put our metal in there, and then he puts the siding. Because if you put the siding and then I just cut it, your finish is going to be a caulk bead. You don't want a caulk bead for finish on a metal roof. You want it to be covered by the stucco or the siding. People do that all the time, though, so be weary on the wall flashings. Are they just putting a caulk bead on top, or are you going to reseal this? So she actually got mad about that guy because He wanted me to just put my metal, cut his siding, and put my metal and put a caulk bead on top because he wanted to finish his job. And I'm like, no, that's not the proper way to do it. So that's what happens. You can see other things, crickets. In this video here, we'll watch real quick. I show you how to do a cricket. It's very labor intensive and time intensive, but it's the right way to do it instead of putting a flat roof, so you don't have to replace panels. In this video, I also show, which I recommend, commercial standing seam roof, metal roof, part 4. I also show the proper way to put vents in. Like this. This is a guy's roof I was on. I was like, they sold you a standing seam metal roof 2 years, and they screwed a flexi boot into it. That's so stupid. These flexi boots get penetrated very easily. All it takes is like a dumb bird to come and peck it, and boom, you get a hole. Another thing is you got fasteners now on a roof that's supposed to be a hidden fastener system. Don't put flexi boots on a standing seam roof. That's so cheap and stupid. People do it all the time, though. Solar vents, don't sell flash vents and skylights on a metal roof. You need to put a box and curb mount it. You see the box being made here. This is the finished product, what it looks like. So you have to build the box, and then you put the curb on, and then you put the collar. You have to put a custom metal sheet around it to build a collar around it. It's expensive, yes, but if you don't do that, it's going to leak through the caulking. You don't want caulking finishes on a metal roof. Metal roof is supposed to last 50 years. Caulking doesn't last 50 years. So if you flash a wall transition with caulk, or you're self-flashing vents and skylights in with caulking, or you're screwing a flexi boot to a metal roof that's supposed to be a hidden fastener system, you're ruining and defeating the purpose of the entire roof by doing that. Let's watch this video real quick. I'll show you. So I know around here, tabbed up and out for the vent flat to fit into.
Fíjate, se me queda esta que me trajo dos puntos diferentes. Aquel. Tú no tienes puntos ahí.
Let's fast a little bit through here. You can watch the hole, and you're going to isolate it up. And it's just going to get screwed. And then through the bottom. Seal it on. Side is also going to get caulking. You tap it up. After it fits over the pipe. And then this fits right over the pipe. Seam and holding on. That's the right way to do a vent. Then you don't have exposed fasteners like this around the freaking vent every target. Here you got the cricket. Putting metal in this cricket here. Sides. Because if you put a flat roof here like most people would do, then you've got to, when your flat roof is bad, you have to take all the panels that are pointing out and pull cricket through that. Now you've got metal here. It's going to last 50 years. If you have to put flat roof, you have to rip all these panels out with flat roof. So dumb. So I was last here on Monday when they were starting the cricket. Today is Wednesday. You can see the entire cricket is done now. People. All fabricated. Other people are doing things the dumb, this is quick, so much better corner way. So give us a call, hire us, go to our website if you need anything, and you can get a free bid, a free rough estimate. Here's if you're going to franchise with us, here's our approved territories. The red spots are all open territories. Franchise fee is $49,500. Right now, if you call me, I'm not even going to charge you a franchise fee. I'm going to make you pay the lawyer, and that's it. Call me. You pay the lawyer to do the documents. No franchise fee. You're only going to pay royalties. So scratch that franchise fee out. It's just pay for lawyer. I'm not paying the lawyer. You pay the lawyer to write up the contract and to figure out the franchise stuff, which I've been told is like a $20,000 and $25,000 cost for the lawyer for that stuff. But then you've got royalties is what you're going to be paying me. But I give you everything. I give you the whole keys for the business, teach you everything, and you're going to make a ton of money. So if you want to make a lot of money, that's the way how you do it. Stop sitting in a box in an office making 50 grand, 80 grand a year when you can come and easily make a few $100,000 a year doing this. Even if you're not good, you should make at least 100 grand. All right. Give us a call. Email us if this video helped you. Thank you for watching. I know it's a long one, but hopefully it was very informative. Peace out.